The Gears of War franchise is, without question, one of the most iconic and beloved series in gaming history, and it's personally my favourite, and I wanted to talk about it as the latest game approaches, Gears of War E-Day. I have high hopes for this game for several reasons. The fact PlayStation will get access is great for numbers and a return to horror roots, but I'll touch on those at the end. But first, I want to start from the blood-soaked debut in 2006. It delivered an unforgettable mix of brutal combat, epic storytelling, and absolutely chaotic multiplayer. Gears of War E-Day has a lot to live up to, and we can only cross our fingers, toes, and chainsaws in hope that it will be an active reload and return to its former glory. Because let's be honest, we need it. I need to be wall bouncing in shotgun battles again. I need heads exploding and curb stomping executions. The original Gears of War was a horror gaming masterpiece. This wasn't a cover shooter, it was the cover shooter, drenched in darkness, atmosphere, and tension. The Locusts weren't just generic enemies, they were brilliant and came in all shapes and sizes, emerging from the ground with guttural roars ready to rip your face off. And let's not forget the campaign. It was short but packed a punch, culminating in one of the best final bosses ever, General Ryam. This absolute unit was a towering, unstoppable force covered in krill, basically carnivorous bats of death, and made for a proper test of skill. If you weren't prepared, he'd carve through you like a hot knife through butter. Then there was the multiplayer. Broken, yes, laggy, extremely, infested with bugs and glitches, absolutely. But my God, was it fun. The shotgun battles were fast, brutal, and often rage-inducing, while the sniper rifle rewarded skilled players with those satisfying active downs. The maps were perfection. Gridlock, canals, mansion, fuel depot, each one played so differently and was complete carnage. And then there were the lobbies where the real battle took place. Smack talk, insults, and the occasional accidental compliment if you managed to respect anyone. The rounds were lightning fast, unless of course some plonker glitched out of the map, forcing everyone to sit there twiddling their thumbs. Overall, this game was just brilliant, and the amount of 4 versus 1 clutches I've seen in the Gridlock Gardens, wall bouncing around, just seeing bodies exploding and not knowing what happened made the rounds one so good to watch. You didn't get this from other games, it was truly unique. Then along came Gears of War 2, bigger, bolder, and just as brutal. This time the campaign had a bit more heart and a lot more gut punches. Dom's search for his wife Maria was sad. He finally finds her, but she's been tortured and is practically brain dead. Cue one of the most tragic moments in gaming history. The game also introduced a locust boss who looked like a skinny predator, but for all his flash he went down far too easily and is one of the downsides to the game's campaign. But multiplayer was brilliant, though it did shake things up a bit. The introduction of new weapons and game modes like Wingman kept things fresh. The smoke grenades, now capable of knocking people over, were the most hilarious addition. Nothing like watching an enemy go flying downstairs for 15 seconds only to get shotgunned whilst glitching around. It wasn't perfect. Server issues, glitches, and the occasional match where you spawned without a weapon. But it was still a class game when things got patched up, and the maps were so different, like Jacinto, Security, and Avalanche. Again, they played so differently, but brought a lot to the game. And I loved this game. It's the game I was the best at, and I had so much fun with it. Then we got Gears of War 3, and well, this is where the wheels started to fall off for me. The introduction of the sawed-off shotgun was the gaming equivalent of handing every player a win button. One shot, massive spread, no skill required, absolutely infuriating. The maps didn't have the same magic, and the power weapons felt off. And let's talk about the campaign. While it had its moments, it just didn't hit the same. The emotional high point was obviously Dom's sacrifice. The man drove a truck into a fuel station to save his friends, and if you didn't get at least a little misty-eyed when Mad World played again, you might not have a soul. But beyond that, it lacked the grittiness of the earlier games. And multiplayer, Team Deathmatch had replaced the classic Gears arena feel, turning it into a more casual experience. The one saving grace, the servers were actually decent at launch. Then, inevitably, it all went to hell, and suddenly playing online felt like wading through treacle. It wasn't a good time, and the weapons killed the game. Then came Gears of War Ultimate Edition, and honestly, this was a brilliant return to form, a remaster of the first game with improved visuals, better controls, and some small quality of life changes. It wasn't exactly the same as the original, but it was close enough to bring back all the nostalgic joy of getting headshotted on Gridlock for the 1000th time, but it played so smoothly, Mansion never looked so good. The game was exactly what we needed after Gears 3, but unfortunately a lot of the new player base didn't bother, and some players had given up on it after the experience they had with Gears 3, and who can blame them really? When Gears of War 4 arrived, it was fun for a little bit, but it just didn't have the same magic again. The campaign was forgettable, seriously, I had to remind myself what happened while doing this. And the characters felt like diet versions of the originals. JD was basically Marcus Light, Dell was there, and Kate, well, Kate had potential. The multiplayer was still enjoyable enough with some decent maps, but it never reached the heights of what we expect from a Gears game. Still, I played it because, let's face it, it was Gears, and I'll always be a sucker for this franchise, especially the multiplayer. Then Gears 5 happened. It got fantastic reviews, and to be fair, it was technically the most fluid, polished Gears game to date. It played incredibly well, with fast responsive combat and the most refined movement system yet, but something was missing. The campaign was a bit more open world, which felt like an odd fit, and while the story was okay, it never quite grabbed me. The biggest issue though, multiplayer had lost its identity. Team Deathmatch dominated, with the classic unforgiving modes like Warzone and Execution taking a back seat. To make matters worse, the game was riddled with cheaters, and the player base dropped off a cliff, making it hard to find a match at times. It was still Gears, but it wasn't my Gears anymore. My journey with the franchise effectively ended with Gears 5. I didn't play Gears of War Tactics or Gears of War Judgment, as neither of them really appealed to me in the same way as the other entries. So, to the future Gears of War E-Day. This is a prequel set during the Locusts' first attack. That means no overpowered tech, no overused characters, just raw, terrifying survival. And from what's been teased, it's going back to its horror roots. That alone has me hyped. And the best part, PlayStation players will finally get access. This means a bigger community, better matchmaking, and hopefully a true return to form. I don't just want this game to be good, I need it to be good. I need that feeling again. Wall bouncing through shotgun battles, head exploding sniper shots, and brutal curb stomping executions. I want chaos. I want classic Gears. Fingers crossed, because this might be our last chance to get it right. If you're looking forward to this game, let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, drop a like and subscribe. Until next time, peace out.